So this project was looking at the flood defences along the River Hull, trying to reconnect the city with the water, to make the river a nicer environment where people want to go, to live, to work, for leisure activities, and to really sort of get that focus back on the river frontage. There was some calls out for the European funding, which the TAP partnership got in touch with me about. There was some specific calls. One was for flooding, so that's predominantly about protecting properties, reducing the flood risk to properties, particularly businesses. So that fits in very nicely with this project. And there was another call that was about habitat creation, so that's more sort of blue-green infrastructure. So we felt that both of those together, it was a bit of a different way of doing things, but we felt like we could combine both of those calls into one bid and actually deliver something that was a bit more multi-beneficial. So it wasn't just about reducing flood risk, but actually you had those environmental benefits at the same time. We have 2,055 businesses within the city centre who will have a reduced flood risk as a result of this investment. The Humber Estuary at the mouth of the River Hull is actually designated as a SSSI, which is a Site of Scientific Special Interest. It's a special protection area and it's also a special conservation area. So these are particular designations that, environmental designations that we have that come through from Europe, and it's something to be proud to have because it means that they're very important to our sort of wildlife and particularly the bird life. And then to the north of the city we have some more sites of special scientific interest, which are Pulfin Bog, Skern Wetlands, which again are really important to the ecology and the fauna and flora of the area.
We're working very closely on this scheme in partnership with Hull City Council, who have secured the funding. The works in the dry dock, the Environment Agency are removing the silt, preparing the dry dock area so that Hull City Council can move the Arctic Corsair from its current position in the River Hull to the dry dock area, and by creating that landscaped area in the dry dock, the Corsair will remain a visitor attraction in a new area.
We also work with many of the other statutory bodies, so Natural England, they've sort of obviously advised us on the habitat creation, Yorkshire Wildlife Trust. We have a lot of work with Yorkshire Water, so it's all sort of, the idea of this project is really to fit in with a lot of other schemes that we're doing in the city. It's all about reconnecting people with water. It's actually called the Living with Water Partnership, so this scheme is a small part of a much bigger picture that we're doing at the moment.
A lot of growth is generated by the river, and we're seeing now that a lot of businesses actually use the river to deliver goods to those businesses that they use. And again, so if without the flood defences that will protect these businesses, protect the surrounding area, I think that would have a significant impact on the City of Hull and its operations and the lives of everyday people.
I was aware of the Technical Assistant Partnership. They were just really there to help us through the forms, help us with many of the difficulties we had with the forms. It's been a big learning process because flooding is not, as I said before, it's quite complex. With any sort of funding partner, what you find is they've got their own requirements, so things like around publicity, around how you count your outputs, around your document retention. It's got quite specific requirements that we have to fit in with, so I have leaned on TAP very heavily to help me on a lot of that. So there's been some very useful workshops that TAP have done, which not just to be able to listen to them telling us what to do, but to meet people who are in the same situation as you, so networking, and to then bounce ideas off each other about what did you do and how did you do your project, and that's really, really helpful. I think TAP's crucial in that, in bringing us together as a bit of a self-help group almost. Unfortunately, we probably started going to their workshops a little bit later on in the stage, and maybe we should have gone to them a little bit earlier to have a true understanding of the sheer amount of workload that's involved. In terms of anybody looking at it again, I would definitely involve myself with TAP and get yourself on their mailing list. Go to as many workshops as you can, speak to the people that you meet at those workshops about the workload that's involved, and be very clear as to what your project, to make sure it fits in with the call that you're applying for. Don't try and shoehorn your project to fit into a call. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. My general advice would just be to use your TAP colleagues as much as possible, and speak to them and get involved with that network of people that they've kind of created, to make sure that you bounce ideas off them and you really get a lot of good ideas, and make sure you have a very large filing cabinet for all that paperwork that you're going to need.